I knew I wouldn't make it without crying. I told myself I wasn't going to cry, but I lied to myself.
You go in the pool first.
I know. Thank y'all for coming. I do believe Big E would want us to celebrate. Not to be sad, but it's hard not to be. I certainly miss him, and I will always miss him. He's touched me in ways that I can't even describe. In the restaurant industry, all of y'all know, most of you know, it's so difficult to be a father and be there for your kids. And the greatest gift he gave me was time to be a father to my boys when that business is not set up for it. But if it wasn't for Big E and Dee Dee, she played a big part in it, I wouldn't have had the quality of life that I had with my boys growing up. And there's nothing that can replace that. Absolutely nothing. He made sure that I was daddy first and I was a manager second. And he taught me that, is what he did. He taught me how to be that person. Because at first I was all about the business. Like, it was business first and nothing else mattered to me. And then when I became a dad, Big E just made sure that I had every opportunity to be there for birthdays, for holidays, weekends, you name it. I mean, he loved my kids like they're his own. Called him nephew. And I just can't say enough great things about him. But one of the funny stories I wanted to tell, so we could kind of laugh a little bit, and I always get him laughing, but there was a time that I was on the phone with an irate guest, and I was really mad. He's sitting there listening, and I was trying to be as nice as I could, and she yells at me on the phone and said, "What's your name?" I said, "It's Jeff Fulton." That's F-U-L-T-O-N. And Eric died laughing. And for the next decade, every time he'd see me, he'd call me F-U-L-T-O-N. So he never did say my name anymore. He just called me F-U-L-T-O-N. So it's a true story and hilarious. Oh my God. He laughed about that for literally 10 plus years. So I love you, Big E. God, we miss you. And I'm going to pass it over to Dee Dee because she's probably a bigger train wreck than me.
I mean, Eric was such a big part of our lives for so much of our lives, and, you know, him being my big brother for 17 and a half years. Working side by side with him for, 5.5 years, and then he was always my sounding board, even after I wasn't around there, and just to call and vent or talk about Longhorn, and he'd always check in on me, and it was always good to come back and see the whole crew and get to see everybody and see him. And I know how proud he was to be a part of Longhorn for a lot of years and to be an MP. And my favorite one was getting to spend holidays with him, mostly Christmas Eves. It was me and him. We would have our Christmas Eve party at Longhorn with the team members, and it just really was really special to me because my whole family's still in Minnesota. He really was family to me. So I'm very blessed, Vicky, that you were around for me for so long. That's all I've got.
I don't know, it's so many stories that we have to get. Like you said in the book, I gotta be careful what I put in there. But he just had the biggest heart of anybody. Big E was just somebody else. I mean, call me like brother, and my kids, he loved me. Like, call him uncle. Gordo, all the people, Longhorn, all the Hispanic people call him Gordo. That means like big. But I mean, he was just. We got our arguments, but at the end of the shift of the day or whatever, we were just hugging each other. Or like, I love you too, man. That's all right. And next day we go back to the same thing, make jokes, and he actually came and see me my new job, and I was surprised, and he gave me a big hug. He said, "I'm proud of you for stepping up your game," and that was nothing but good things from Big E. it will be missed.
I have two, but my favorite thing, it wasn't even like a story, but it was something he always did was, I always wanted to get out of there. I'd get my stuff done, but the only thing I had to do was flip the bar chairs and sweep all the time. So I would give Big E $10. And he was like, I do it, give me $10, I'll do it. And I was like, okay. So I found out like months later, he goes, he doesn't do that, he makes that. He makes that to do it, he takes your money. I was like, I don't care, I can do it. But my second thing is about once a year, years after I no longer worked there, about once a year, it was almost around the same time too, he would call me and he'd be like, hey, and he'd start talking to me and I was like, hey, what's up, Big E? Like excited to talk to me. He goes, what Tiffany is this? And I was like, you know, Thomas said, I used to work at Longmore. He goes, I done called the wrong Tiffany. But hey girl, what you doing? So I was like, I think he just does it to check on me, but
He probably did.
Oh,
Probably did. And
he is a manager. And he told me right then, he's like, girl, if you ever get lucky enough to come back to Club 280, you should totally do it. And so a couple of years later, I get to come back to Club 280, and I was like, hey, I never asked you, why do you call it Club 280? And he's like, it's because we're like a resort. We watch Jeff's back and let him have his weekends off, and then he takes care of us. And I was like, okay, I got it. And then it was just becoming a family again because they all trained me. But E and I would switch up, you know, between closing shifts and stuff. He only liked to close. So I always knew that if I had to close, I could, you know, pawn it off to the
You and me both.
yeah, I didn't get it early, you know, mid out. But he was just always so sweet, funny, just really funny. You know, the way he threatened to choke people or, you know, lock them in the cooler.
oh, we went toe to toe in the parking lot a couple times.
Yeah, he did. I went toe to toe in the cooler a few
I didn't
times.
know what I was gonna do with this big ass.
And he
swung
was
on.
like, well, that's why he looked down at me and he's like, you really want to argue with me? And I'm like, I ain't backing down. I got to stand my ground and show my teeth. And then, ever since then, we, you know, I don't think we ever got into it after that. I don't even remember what it was. It was over a steak or something. I don't know. But you do that in the restaurant business because you get heated and then you're still family.
That's exactly right.
And I mean, like, after, you know, I stopped working and he got, you know, transferred down and we didn't talk all the time, but he did. He would call me too. And he was just checking on me because he would do the same thing to me. How many Amandas is there gonna have? You know, Tiffany's he might have. He did the same thing.
American people, I was, and like, or this panic. I was like, can I pick something from my? Yeah. Do you cousins? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. If they family, it's fine.
I just loved him from the first time I met him because he was funny. Like the first thing he did was tell a joke, and his face stayed so stoic, like he's just.
Poker face.
But he's just hilarious. I love his personality. I love the fact that he could get with my sister because I've never seen anybody can shut her up. and that was a big thing.
Here for a long time. Ever since I was a little girl, you know, big guy, and like you said, his face was always so stern. So I used to, when I first met him, I was scared of him. You know? But come to find out, you know, as I grew up, he was just a loving teddy bear. He helped me get my first job, gave me some good words of encouragement, stuff that I still use today, like, because I used to be a hot chili pepper, okay? Y'all know. Rashonda, you can't be talking to these customers like that, you know. And of course, people work off tips, so he said that your attitude will determine your outcome, and that always stick with me to this day. I would truly miss him. Like, I would talk to him every so often. I haven't talked to him in a while, and it really hurts me that I did not get to tell him, you know, goodbye. But I would definitely miss him. He was like a father to me.
He loved you.
Well, like my dad said, he did love me and Braylon a whole lot, and he would do anything he could to get my dad to be able to see us more. And every time he'd come over for like one of the parties or just coming to visit or something, he'd slide me just a little $20, $50 bills. Well, you didn't get that from me. I didn't give that to you. I don't know what you're talking about, nephew. And then when I was real little, every so often I'd be able to go visit them at Longhorn, and I'd walk in, I'd go to the back, you know, everybody, talk to everybody, and apparently there was one time, I don't remember this, but apparently there was one time that I walked back there and instead of going to my dad, you know, he's my dad, I'm supposed to be there for him, happy to see him. Instead of going to him, I went straight for Biggie. The first thing I did, took off for Biggie. You know, he showed me around, gave me some grapes, all that good stuff.
You were a cousin.
Mm-hmm.
It's a true story.
Nephew. Well,
He true Jeff, of course. Same way I met all of you guys, I guess. At Longhorn. And the very first time I met him, I walked in to Longhorn and Jeff introduced us. He said, Big E, this is my mom. Mom, this is Big E. And he got up and gave me the biggest, the sweetest, the longest bear hug. And he called me Mom. And from that day on, he never called me anything but Mom. It was Mom this and Mom that. And every time we talked, he would say, Mom, I love you. So I love you too, Biggie. I'm going to miss him most, I think, at the parties. Because when he walks in, it's just like he fills the room. And I think I'll miss him most at the parties. But he'll always be in our hearts. He will always, always, always be in our heart.
And cheers, yes.
I bet he touched you that one day though, didn't he? Don't take long with Big E. He touches hearts like nobody else. Certainly does. It's impressive. Let's hear it from your perspective.
I remember whenever he still worked at Longhorn. It's I don't know how long ago, but we would sit in the back, and sometimes he would come, but mainly it would be Big E coming and making sure we were all taken care of and everything. And that's like been what I associated with him and how I remember him. And what?
Okay.
Person, a handful of times, honestly. But I felt like I knew who he was. To back up what Amanda was saying, there were times that she'd be like, oh man, I had the guy to open the next day. You know, I'm gonna call Big E. I'm gonna call Big E, and then we're gonna go out tonight. And sure enough, Big E would jump in and take that shift. But he was kind of like, I think a couple of people said, he filled up a room. He filled up a room, whether it was a party or someone else's memorial, or he just had a way. And those bear hugs were real. Every time I met him, it was like I had known him 10 years. There was no introductions necessary with him. Everybody got one of those hugs automatically, where it was one of those you could tell that heart was big. Whether you knew who he was or not, you could tell. As long as he wasn't trying to tell a joke with that straight face, in which case they wasn't going to trying to wonder if he was joking or not.
His baby sister. And the first time we met Eric, he came to Sunday dinner. And when he walked in, he was like, she made me come to meet all of y'all. So here I am. You know, like with a straight face. And I'm looking at him like, this is what he said. But he was saying, Cherry, she always knew when he was, I like the fact that she always knew when he was telling a joke. And they had a communication about each other that was so real. And I appreciate him for loving my sister the way he did. And he did. And he was able to get with her because she don't bar down to nothing. Nothing. You cannot get her to bar down. Yeah. But when it came to Eric, she was just like, you could tell her heart was just melt. And I really appreciate it. He softened her.
Yeah.
He really did. He softened her.
Niece, I'm Charity's niece. And I can piggyback off what she said. That's how it was when we met him. And I remember my baby is the smallest in the family, so it's always my baby, my baby. But when she walked in, the day she seen him, she looked at him and she looked him up and down. She turned, she looked around, she looked back. She said, "Who is he? I've never seen him before." So he was like, he was sitting there looking at her how she was looking at him, and then he was just so funny. And Cherry is tough. He did soften her. She actually started getting jokes because she's horrible at catching a joke. Like, you'll be telling a joke and she'll be like, "I don't get it." And so he did, like, his jokes, because she kind of got him, and he softened her up and made her, she's always had a big heart, but it was like a girly big heart, I guess you could say, almost. And the way they smiled at each other and told jokes about each other and how they met and things in their relationship, it was just awesome to be around, because it was just like genuine love, and you don't see that all the time.
I used to always tell her, you too rough. You too rough with Cherry.
Oh yeah. He used to, I used to take. He always took up for me, and I appreciate that. He said, "Sis, I got you. Don't worry about it. I got it."
You're easily chokeable, though.
But I wanted to choke you.
I probably wouldn't have had a job at Longhorn if not for Eric, because I did fail the personality test.
You don't say.
I was told that by Amanda.
Yes, I did tell him that.
They normally don't hire people with my personality, and it ended up there for 10 years.
That's
So,
true.
thanks, Eric, for that. Only a decade of my life. As far as specific stories, I was kind of new there. You know, everybody told me we don't sing birthday songs here. We bring cake. We don't do all the singing and clapping and all that here. So I got this party one night of like 8 teenagers, young people, and the girl keeps asking me, "Hey, can you sing Happy Birthday?" And I'm like, "We don't do that." Da 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 da. Asked me like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, "We really don't. We just bring out a cake." I'm just regurgitating what's been taught to me, right? So it turns out it's Tony Smith's daughter.
Oh.
And so she starts telling, I don't know who the hell Tony Smith is either, by the way.
Right.
But it goes from her texting her dad, then up the food chain, and then back down to Eric, who's the manager on duty that night. And I've told this girl like 4 times, we don't sing birthday songs, you know, just bring out cake. As I'm walking back to the kitchen, like, I get run over by Eric with like a cake at like chest level, and he's got like 10 people behind him, and all he keeps saying is, "That's Tony Smith's daughter, it's Tony Smith's daughter." I'm like, "Who the hell is Tony Smith?" Just like barrels through me, and it's like singing Happy Birthday. I'm standing there like a jackass. I was so pissed off at Eric. I'm like, "Eric, what the hell are you doing? You're making me look like I've told this girl we don't sing a birthday song." And it's like, "That's Tony Smith." I'm like, "Who the hell is Tony Smith?" "Oh, that's Jeff Falk." I'm like, "Oh, okay." You know, but that was Eric. And then he threatened to chuck me out if I didn't get the hell out of it.
We met Eric at Longhorn. It's been 20 years ago. And he just had the hugest hearts and the best hugs. I could have a crappy day and he could give me a hug and it'd make it all better. But one thing between Eric and Jeff and Jamie are Jeff's down hard, die hard, huge Auburn fan, and you have this massive Alabama fan. And it was just too precious. And when he moved to Tuscaloosa, we actually would go to see him all the time there. And we were talking one day, and Jamie was like, "Well, man, I've never been to Bryant-Denny Stadium." And Eric was like, "What? You're my brother, and you've never been? You're in Alabama?" And I was like, "Oh, we just don't have time. We just never done it." He goes, "Give me a minute." And I'm like, "What?" The next thing I know, he's bringing this Alabama somebody there and gives us 2 tickets to the Alabama game for that Saturday. And I was like, "Eric, what did you do?" And he goes, My brother's never been, and I want him to go, and I'm gonna take care of it. And so he got to go, and it was the best day ever, because it was because of Eric. And anytime he ended up in the hospital, he was right there going, "What do you want me to bring you? What do you want me to bring?" I was like, "I'm fine, Eric, I'm fine." But he was always there for me when he had issues, and he was always there for Jamie when he had issues. And I don't know how to live without him, but I know I'll feel with him one day.
Love it. I haven't ever come across anybody, and I'm sure y'all that work with him had situations, but literally everybody I know that's ever met Eric loves him, and I'm so grateful for everything that he did to allow Jeff to be home with me and my kids more, and I'll be forever grateful for that. But he is the most selfless person I've ever met. A quiet giver. He's gonna do, and he's not gonna talk about it. And I'm sure he's done so many things for so many people, and never told anybody what he did. And I want to be more like him, you know? So, but my favorite memory is, it was a Christmas party before we lived in this house, and we're wrapping it up. Most everybody's gone, but he's still there. And we're sitting over by your house on that little platform thing. Before I know it, he's funneling a beer. And then he starts crowing like a rooster.
Like the rooster.
Loud. As loud as he can. That's my favorite memory. There's a lot, but we're going to miss them.
We are that. We are
That's
that.
why he said, don't be surprised.